it's Rob from Axel's Garage. Today we're going to do something real easy, real simple, real basic. No code scanners, no computers, small block Chevy with a 4-barrel. We're just going to adjust the ignition timing. This vehicle is an old 63 Chevy C10 pickup. It's a great driver. We use it as our shop truck. It's got a nice patina to it that we put a little clear coat over to preserve it. We got our Axel's Garage logos on the doors. It's just a great truck. It sounds awesome. It's an eye catcher. It's actually for sale. But what we did notice driving it recently was that it seemed like the timing was a little bit off. It seemed a little sluggish. We adjusted the carb, and we're still getting a little bit of hesitation and backfire through the carb where we have to feather the gas a little bit. You all know what I mean by that. So I think the timing's probably a little too retarded. We're going to go over adjusting the timing. Real basic. We're not going to set a total advance. We're not worried about that stuff. We're going to see where our initial timing is with a basic timing light, a balancer that's got one mark on it that indicates where your top dead center line, and your degree timing tab that goes from like a couple degrees after to about 16 degrees before. Regular basic GM timing tab with a basic timing light. Nothing fancy. We'll get out there, we'll get our tools together, and we'll show you what we're doing. Alright, out here, working on the C10, real basic tools. Gotta like that echo from the old school steel. But real basic tools. A generic timing light. It's not a dial back, it's not anything fancy. It's a cheapo CS Craftsman that I've probably had for at least 20 years. That's really all you need. The hookup for the timing light is real simple. Alright, you have a positive and negative for your battery that gives its power, and then you have a pickup or a sensor that will go on the #1 spark plug wire, which in a small block Chevy, as we all know, is the left side of the vehicle or the driver's side of the vehicle, and it's that first spark plug. So you're going to grab that on the wire. You see how mine's a little melted up from being too close to a header at one time or another. So what I have to do, I pinch it onto the wire, or I pinch the wire around it, and then I put a little quick grip clamp on it to hold it in place so that it doesn't fall off. And what that'll do is every time a spark goes through the #1 spark plug wire, it'll shoot that strobe down when you pull the trigger on the timing light, and that syncs it all up so that that strobe only triggers every time there's a spark going through that wire, and that's how you can read the timing mark on your balancer. Now, if you got a clean engine with a real good timing mark on your balancer, you'll be able to see it. If your engine's gunky and dirty, or if you're having trouble seeing the timing mark, a real good cheat way to see that mark is to take a little white out, put it on the timing mark on the balancer, and then wipe it off with your thumb, and the white out will stay in the groove of the timing mark, and it'll make that timing mark white. It'll be a little easier to pick up. This one is real clean. I don't think we'll have any trouble seeing it. I'll get everything set up. The only other tool you need, for a small block Chevy at least, is a 9/16 wrench. That's for the distributor hold down bolt. Usually you can grab it with a regular combination wrench. They do make a distributor wrench, which is kind of come down like a hockey stick almost. If you're real tight in there and you can't get a regular wrench in there, you need a distributor wrench. I've found with the small block Chevys and the big block Chevys, it's usually easy enough to get a regular wrench in there. All you need to do is just crack it loose, and it's enough to turn the distributor. You don't want to make it too loose because you don't want to have the distributor flopping around like that. You just want to be able to move it a little bit. So you just need it a little bit loose so that you can turn that distributor. Because what we're going to do is you're going to turn it as the engine's running. We're going to check the timing, and you're going to turn the whole distributor. You're going to grab the cap, but you're turning the whole distributor. Counterclockwise will advance the timing, and clockwise will retard the timing. So that's what we're going to do. The only other thing that we need to do for the setup is if you have a vacuum advance in your distributor, and this is a stock, probably out of the junkyard HEI, is disconnect that vacuum advance and plug the vacuum line so that you don't have a vacuum leak. Because you don't want the vacuum advance playing into your timing to set your initial timing. You want to know what your initial mechanical timing is without that vacuum advance having any play into it. Now, if your vacuum advance is hooked up to ported vacuum, it shouldn't be advancing at idle, depending on if your carburetor is adjusted properly. If it's hooked up like this one is to manifold vacuum, it will give you some advance at idle if your vacuum canister on your distributor is working properly. Some of them are adjustable. Usually the factory ones aren't. They're a set amount of timing advance that they're going to give it. It's anywhere from 12 to 18 degrees, depending on which one you have. I believe there are some oddballs that can give you even more. They do sell adjustable vacuum advances that you put an Allen key in where the vacuum hose goes, and you can adjust how much advance it's going to give you. That gets a little bit more detailed, and that's not what we're doing today. We just want to see what the initial's at, see if that's where our problem lies, why we always have to feather the gas when we're taking off with the car, and why the car feels a little sluggish. Okay, I have my vacuum advance unplugged. The vacuum hose is plugged up so that I don't have a vacuum leak, and there's the distributor hold down bolt in the back there. You can see it just under the vacuum advance all the way in the back. I loosened that up about a half a turn. Got my leads hooked up on the battery. I got them draped across the front so they don't get tangled up in the cooling fan. And then I have my pickup on the #1 spark plug wire with my little quick grip clamp on it. I can't say that, that's a tongue twister. And that's just to make sure it doesn't fall off because my spring is busted on that thing there. Okay, what I'll do now is start the engine up, let it warm up to operating temperature, and then we'll check and see what the timing is. Okay, so I don't know if you were able to see it on the camera, but our initial idle ignition timing is right between the 4 and the 6 mark on the timing pad, so we're going to call that 5. 5 is below factory specs. For a motor that's got a cam in it, it should be a lot more than that, so we're going to advance it up. One problem we're going to have with advancing it up is the clearance between the distributor and the firewall is real tight, so we'll see how far we can advance it and see if it's going to start hitting the firewall before we get to where we want to be. So we turned that distributor counterclockwise a little bit, and we got our timing up to 14 degrees, which is great, except now you hear the idling smoother, but it's also idling higher. So it's a delicate balance. Now we're going to adjust the idle, bring that idle down, and see where the timing's at. We want to have our idle speed where it's supposed to be, and our timing where it's supposed to be. So you got to adjust that balance. As you turn the timing up, the idle's going to come up, then you got to drop it back down again, recheck the timing, and go back and forth a couple times till you get it exactly where you want it. That's what we're doing. Alright, we got our timing up to about 16 degrees. Readjusted the idle. This is a good idle speed if you're in park. Go inside, look at our RPMs. Idle's nice and smooth. If I mash it, I still get a little hesitation. I think I got to play with the pump shot now, the accelerator pump. But when I throw it in gear, my idle speed's about 600 RPMs. I guess I could goose it up just a little bit more than that. I'll probably go up another 100 or so RPMs. And that should do it. Okay, so I played with the idle. What I did was I turned down the curb idle screw all the way to the point where it stopped moving, and then I just tightened it a little bit just so I could see the throttle linkage moving. When I just saw the throttle linkage moving, then I went over to the secondary screw, which is that one that's up underneath that's real hard to get to with the carburetor on. I made my own little screwdriver to get to that one, and I used that one to raise or lower my idle speed to get it to where I wanted it to be. And that was around 800, 8.25 in park, and it's about 7 to 750 in gear, which seems to run nice with this engine and this truck, with this transmission and this converter. That seems to be comfortable, it feels nice, it idles nice, and everything is set. But by messing with the idle adjustment, you also kind of mess up your accelerator pump adjustment. So that accelerator pump is got the 3/8 bolt with the 3/8 nut and a spring in between. So all you need is 2 3/8 wrenches to adjust that, and you sort of lengthen it against the spring or shorten it against the spring until you just have a little bit of play. I'm sure there's a tolerance for it. I don't know what it is, but you just want a little bit of play between that lever for the accelerator pump and the bolt head itself, so that when your foot's just on the gas or your foot's laying on that gas pedal, you're not activating the accelerator pump. But as soon as you go to give it gas, that initial tip in, it gives it an extra pump shot in there to give you some extra fuel to get the vehicle moving. So once you adjust that, now that we played with the carburetor a little bit, the right way to do it is to adjust your carburetor with a vacuum gauge again, and that I'll have to go through. Maybe I'll save that video for another day. But that's it. Now just tighten that distributor back up again, plug in your vacuum advance hose back to where it was in the vacuum advance, and you're good to go. It seems to be running a lot better. I give it gas now, and it's not hesitating, it's not popping through the carburetor anymore. What I do notice now is I'm able to give it gas, like snap that throttle, and it reacts so fast that I'm getting a squeal from my fan belt. So I'm going to have to tighten that belt up a little bit. I didn't even realize how loose it was, because I could never give the vehicle that much gas and have it react without it backfiring through the carburetor and stalling. Every time we started off from a dead standstill, we had to feather the gas to get it going, and that didn't make the fan belt squeal. But now, giving it that one shot, RPMs come up right away and that fan belt squeals. It's not over. You thought it was over, but it's not over. I had to come back and say I was fumbling over my words all morning. I was up at work all night. No excuse, of course, but I felt like I was fumbling over my words and not really explaining myself well. I hope I explained myself well. Comment below if I did a lousy job. This one felt like a lousy video. When I edit it, I'll probably be laughing at myself. I like the truck. It is for sale. I'll do a walk around of the truck maybe in a couple days once I get everything running right and ironed out. I'm looking to buy a step side. I want to get like an early 70s square body step side, 73, 74, 75, up to anywhere from 73 to 79 round headlight, square body step side truck. I really like this truck. It's got a cool look to it. What I don't like about it is no power steering. I really like the power steering because I like to drink a cup of coffee while I'm driving, and without the power steering it's a bear sometimes, especially where I live where there's a decent amount of traffic. So this truck is for sale. We'll do a work around in a couple days. Again, apologize for fumbling over my words all morning. It's just one of those mornings. Hope you enjoyed it. Please comment below, like, subscribe, all that nonsense. See you next time.